Wurfel Luxuriate Hour.
Welcome to the Wurfel Luxuriate Hour once again. I'm really excited about our very special guest who's on with me today all this hour. His name is Anshul and I have the Wurfel team with us. Hi guys!
Hi!
Alright, check out the Wurfel Living Studio in Banaswadi and wurfel.in if you want all the details. But Anshul are sitting right across me. It's such a pleasure to have you here. Thank you so much for joining us.
Likewise, thank you so much for having me.
Alright, so Anshul, I really want to know a little bit more about you, your timeline and your design story. So where did it all begin? Where did this fascination for everything that you do begin?
Okay, so I always used to be a creative child. I was a bit of a dreamer. Never really knew what I really wanted to do. As most parents, my parents were very keen that I do medicine and engineering. Yeah, they were sort of pushing me towards medicine. And I happened to be in Manipal because they wanted me to secure a seat in medical college. And I happened to see a notice saying, do you have the aptitude for architecture? And that sort of piqued my interest. And I decided to pack my dad home and told him I'd like to explore this place if I was going to live here. Did this architecture aptitude test without anybody knowing it. Interestingly and fascinatingly, secured a seat which was a free seat the very next day. Through that particular test, I figured something that came really naturally to me, which I'd never really known, and decided that I'd rather go with something that I would enjoy and something that came naturally to me. That was it, and never looked back since then.
That's amazing. What's been the journey now like? How many years here? And if you had to give the crux of your design story, what would it be? I just saw some of your work and I really like what you can do with compact spaces.
Thank you so much. Well, I would say it's been a very fascinating journey. It's been a journey where, it's been 22 years of working professionally as an architect and 5 years of studying it. So 27 years is probably half a lifetime. So I have it in my blood now. It's literally, I breathe it. I wake up every morning and love the fact that somebody's going to pay me to design.
That's amazing, and that's something that you've been doing now. 27 years is, it's pretty much half a lifetime. When I come back, I'm going to find out so much more about what luxury means to you and what you guys are all about. But that and much more on 94.3 Radio 1 on the Wurfel Luxuriate Hour. Anshul is the architect and principal architect and founder of Sanctuary Architects and Designers. And they've blended minimalism with Asian tropical architecture and materials, won prestigious national awards like the IID in 2011, 2013 and 2016. Also shortlisted to be present in the Berlin World Architecture Festival in 2017. Design and architecture for almost 27 years. The founder and principal architect of Zen Den, which is a startup that's doing modular, sustainable tiny shelters as well. I saw one of that and it looks really cool, especially in Bangalore when you have small spaces, Anshul. That must be like the perfect sort of design story. You want to tell everybody about this really interesting concept before I come back and ask you some more?
Yeah, thank you so much. The idea behind Zen Den was that try and get something well designed, something that's small, a living space. You will struggle to get it. An architect doesn't want to take it on because it makes no commercial sense. A contractor doesn't want to take it on for the same reason. It's just very difficult to do small spaces. And that was one of the prime ideas behind creating a modular space which can come together in no time. And hopefully this particular one that we're doing will come together in one day. If everything falls into place, we'll be able to do a den the size that you were looking at, which is 20 by 8, in one day. So you can have a home fully furnished, which will last you a lifetime, which we can put together in one day. It has everything that you need in a home. You have a living room space that can accommodate about 4 to 5 people. You've got a bed that comes down, so it's perfect for 1 or 2 people living there. We can do any size. It's not necessary that it has to be only compact as that. You have a little pantry with an induction cooking stove. You can get a full-fledged kitchen if necessary. You have an attached toilet, a dining table that sort of swings down, and storage space as well. the most you can do in a 20 by 8.
Yeah, and one whole part of it can just be glass, and you can pull down the blinds when you want it to be private. I really like this. I'm sure a lot of young people, single people who've just moved into the city, this is going to be just fabulous for them, right?
It's going to be fascinating, and you can speak to Alexa, and Alexa will pretty much perform all your commands. You can get your blinds down, you can dim your lights, and you can play the music you like.
This is just the perfect thing for a compact space. But speaking of luxury, this is the Wurfel Luxuriate Hour. What is luxury according to you?
That's a very interesting question. It never occurred to me, but I guess somewhere within me, I do have the answer. Luxury for me is something that has to be practical, but at the same time, something that you feel beautiful in. It has to be something that works and not something that just looks good. It has to be something that one can fit into rather than be fit into. It has to speak design. It has to be beautifully finished. It has to cover so many aspects that sort of touch a string in your heart, which is difficult to describe.
Beautiful description. If you had to give like an architect's explanation of it, like in a line, what would luxury be to you? If somebody comes to you and says, want something luxurious, even if it's a small space.
I guess it would be something that one feels beautiful in.
That's well answered. On the Wurfel Luxuriate Hour, we have a super fantastic architect with over 27 years of experience. This is Mr. Anshul, and I'm really excited about having him here. Some of his most significant projects are that of Kaze, the Open Box Sanctum in the Puma Social Club. The Wurfel team joins me. Hello, guys! Hi! All right, I just, read about Kaze, the Open Box Sanctum in Puma Social Club. Some very interesting landmarks and some very aesthetic sensibilities, I must say. Everybody who wants to go for a nice night out is always out at Kaze, and if you want to eat well, then it's the Open Box. All of them are fantastic. Tell us a little bit about how you lent your own individual sort of feeling and vibe to these spaces.
Each of these spaces are very different from the other. We have a kind of an underlying style, which is, we love going with natural materials, we love going with greenery, we love going with sustainable materials, and you will see that underlying sort of concept follow through in each of these projects, in some more than the others, but you can see a sort of a very clear definition of that. With regards to the spaces themselves, they all speak of luxury, but at the same time they also speak of conscious luxury. They aren't luxurious in a sense where it's just materials that are expensive that have been used. These are materials, and most of them are very material oriented projects where materials come together with lighting which accentuates these materials. And I feel that most spaces that are hospitality spaces, it's very important that you feel a certain way when you go there, and nothing better than warm natural materials to give you a feeling of calm and a feeling of liberation and a feeling of I want to put my hair down and either relax or have a good sort of evening out. So that's what each of these spaces are about, and it's the diversity of the materials that we've used that have come together with the right kind of light.
I think it's the play of light and all the sustainable luxury that people are talking about these days. But for somebody who's building their first home or their first office, if they want to create a space like that breeds minimalism but also luxury and exudes that sort of elegance, and you can wear your hair down, chill and feel good, what would be the one main tip to get there?
Make sure that you have natural light, make sure that you have a touch of green, and make sure that you have a little bit of some sort of a natural material, whether it's wood or stone or oil. Just make sure that you put your heart into putting that space together, a space that you would feel comfortable in. Put in a bit of your own soul into the space, and that's how individualistic spaces and unique spaces are created. Meditate on that space and see what will make you feel liberated and beautiful in it.
That's fantastic. I hear the words liberation and beautiful and soul, and I'm guessing those are some definite important aspects for someone to remember when they're building their first house. Luxury, and I feel like it's a breath of fresh air ever since I've walked into their office. And my question to you, Anshul, here is to anybody listening in, especially people who are creating their first or second exclusive homes, what exactly is the right sort of perspective to get into making a home these days, especially because there's so much time that we've spent in our homes all this year in 2020?
Well, I think most importantly, they need to see if they've got the basics right while choosing a home. Make sure that there's adequate natural light and there's adequate ventilation, and make sure that there are enough outdoor spaces. I think one thing that the pandemic has taught us is that we cannot be cooped up in interior spaces. We need natural light, we need space. And it's very important for us because it's actually very healing to be out in the sun for at least a couple of hours in the day, and it's healing to have space around you. Everyone in the house needs to have their own space, so even if it's a tiny home, it should be well designed and well planned with spaces that have enough greenery, natural light and ventilation. Everything else can take a back seat. Just put your soul into the space and just get these three aspects right. Everything else will follow suit.
Ventilation, light and soul. Three interesting things. Speaking of three interesting things, Wurfel has been putting together some beautiful Indian homes but with a European sort of a touch. And, I've been associated with them for a while. It's almost my third season and I've seen their growth as well. With a brand like Wurfel, your association in the future with them, or your thoughts about brands like these that are made in India and that are doing fabulous in this space?
No, I think it's fascinating and amazing. They are truly revolutionizing the kitchen. Every time I went out looking for a kitchen, it used to be a European brand, but to know that Wurfel is actually manufacturing their kitchens is amazing to see. The spread that they have and the number of towns that they now cater to is so amazing to see. I believe that the kitchen actually is the soul of the house where many beautiful things can happen. It's very important that we start relooking at our kitchens in a manner which are much more interactive and bring families together. I've seen homes where just by the way the kitchen is placed and just by the way it's designed, families lead much more happier lives because they start interacting more, they start cooking together. It becomes a social space for them. So it's very important, and I'm sure Wurfel is looking very closely at those aspects. I would love to see them grow, and I'd love to see how they can further start doing kitchens that bring families together, which they are, I'm sure, already. It's going to be interesting to see how this whole journey of the kitchen as a social space is going to evolve.
Absolutely. Apart from kitchens, they do other rooms in the house as well. If you want to check it all out, I've been to the Wurfel Living Studio in Bhubaneshwar. Have you been, Anshul?
Yes, I have.
Yeah.
I like it.
All right. So that's one of the most massive studios I've seen in our city. So go check them out or check them out on wurfel.in. But every week it's a new architect with a new story. And this time I'm taking away light, ventilation and soul for my first house. Thank you very much, Anshul. Can I get a woohoo from everybody here? Woohoo!